coverage you can count on from your good neighbor station. This is KGNS News Evening Edition.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann Hutera. Thousands of immigrants may be heading into the U.S. through the southern border this new year, according to Congressman Henry Cuellar. And he says there hasn't been enough of a warning to border communities like ours that may be affected. Our Valerie Gonzalez joins us now in the studio. Valerie, what does Cuellar believe needs to be done about this?
Lynn, he believes more communication is needed between the federal and local governments. This way, communities like ours could better prepare to manage what may come from another immigration wave. Immigrants coming in from Cuba, and in 2014 unaccompanied children from Central America were coming in by the thousands. Several nonprofits in Laredo organized to offer these families assistance, but the efforts received nominal financial help from the city. This year, Cuellar says a surge of nearly 40,000 immigrants from Haiti, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East is possible. He spoke to the ambassador of Costa Rica, where many of them have already crossed through. This time, Cuellar believes the United States should prepare to handle the influx.
What I'm concerned about is you got a lot of people that have figured out all you have to do is get to the southern border of the United States, which includes Laredo, claim political asylum, claim refugees, claim credible fear, and then they know that they'll process you and release you because that's the process that we have. We have to change that law.
Cuellar says the Department of Homeland Security and the State Department have not been communicating news of this possible surge to border communities. However, Customs and Border Protection sent us a statement that reads in part, U.S. Customs and Border Protection continues to see increases in migration along the southwest border during fiscal year 2017. This includes family units and unaccompanied children from Central America, Haitian nationals migrating from Brazil, and Cuban nationals. They add that they've opened 2 holding facilities in Texas and have sent 150 Border Patrol agents to the Rio Grande Valley in response to the surge of Central Americans seen this year. And Cuellar believes that there's more that needs to be done, and he's thinking about adding language to direct DHS to keep communities informed about immigration activity and trends.
All right, something we'll keep watching. Thanks, Valerie. Now, Congressman Cuellar is also planning to meet with Costa Rica ambassador this coming year after his swearing in. Plans for the Scott Street overpasses have been taken over by TxDOT. The city announced that overpass plans are in progress and that TxDOT's currently working on a feasibility study that'll extend from West Laredo to the downtown area where traffic builds up from Scott Street. Now, according to Program Supervisor Jaime Arispe, overpasses on Scott Street will help alleviate the traffic that piles up on existing overpasses.
The blockages are sometimes at a very awkward time. Sometimes in the morning, 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, when people are going to work, or during the lunch hour, and people are trying to go to lunch. So they're not very good timings as far as the current railroad passings.
The city says they're still waiting to hear back from TxDOT on what the next step is. The names of the officers involved in that shooting that left 1 man dead and officers injured are released. Back on December 11, 2 Laredo police officers responded to a domestic suicide call in South Laredo. KGNS News reporter Yoslin Gallardo joins us now with the latest on this. Yoslin.
So as you recall, those officers arrived in an apartment in South Laredo where they found Jose Angel Vallarta holding a butcher knife. Officers ordered the man to put the knife down, but instead Vallarta attacked them, causing them to use deadly force. During those moments, police say a 3rd officer arrived at the scene. When Vallarta came toward the officers with a knife in hand, they opened fire. It's reported 5 shots were fired. Vallarta was shot 3 times. The officers involved are Jesse Garcia Perez, a 9-year veteran. He was the officer injured, stabbed in his right forearm and shot in his hand. The 2nd officer is Cesar Orozco. He has 1 year and 11 months on the force. He also fired his weapon. The 3rd officer is Carlos Hernandez Jr. He is a 12-year veteran. Hernandez discharged his taser during the incident. The shot that hit Garza was a friendly fire from Orozco, who was standing behind him. The officers that were all involved are on administrative duty during this investigation.
All right, thanks, Yoslin. Now, Orozco underwent surgery and he is currently still recovering. The local university has put out their annual report for this year. TAMIU seen many changes to the physical campus and its administration. They're happy to report a healthy student enrollment, affordable learning, and partnerships to benefit their international students. However, their new president believes one of their most notable achievements, which will be something to look forward to, came last week.
We broke ground last Friday on our new academic building. It's 120,000 square feet. It's going to change the focal point on the campus. It's going to be the largest building on campus.
That academic building is expected to accommodate a growing number of students interested in STEM and nursing fields. Tonight we'll also hear what the community can expect of the university this new year. Well, a night filled with the best of Latin music, food, and dancing is just a few weeks away. Today, officials announced the date for the upcoming Noche de Cabaret. The proceeds from this event benefit LULAC Council No. 7's Scholarship Fund and promote the continuance of the legacy of Latin music in the community. In addition, this year's Higher Education Award honoree is Mayor Pete Sines.
And all the proceeds will go to our scholarship fund. And we expect to surpass $600,000 in 2017, and it's all due to our major fundraiser, Noche Cabaret.
Now, this event will take place February 4th at the LASD Performing Arts Center, known to many as the Civic Center, from 7 p.m. until 1 a.m. Tickets start at $30 per person. Several HEB trucks traveling through Texas are delivering the gift of a warm meal to those in need this holiday season. HEB will be providing more than 2.3 million bowls of Quick Oats oatmeal to 17 Texas food banks this week through the HEB Food Bank Assistance Program. Each food bank will be provided with more than 4,000 boxes of oatmeal, which amounts to almost 139,000 bowls. According to the South Texas Food Bank Executive Director, Alma Bubel, this means the meal will definitely put a smile on the faces of many people the food bank serves.
We service here at the South Texas Food Bank 28,000 families on a monthly basis, and that donation that we receive from HEB will hopefully be distributed to these 28,000 families. We do have families in 8 different counties, all the way from Del Rio, Texas, to Rio Grande City, Heronville, Zapata, San Ignacio, and many other cities in those counties.
The HEB Food Bank Assistance Program works year-round to raise awareness and battle hunger in Texas and Mexico. A local business known for its sweet treats today shared those treats with the less fortunate. The owners of Chocolateca made a stop at the Bethany House to drop off packaged goodies. Residents outside the shelter were handed tamales, cookies, and buñuelos. The Chocolateca co-owner says they wanted to make sure the homeless community has something sweet this holiday season. This is the first time the business hands out donations, and they say they look forward to making this a yearly tradition. Well, reading time is important for any child, so why not do it at the animal shelter? Girl Scouts of Greater South Texas, along with some friends, visited the City of Laredo Animal Shelter. With blankets and books in hand, the children spent their afternoon reading to the dogs. Eventually, reading time turned into playtime, but the organizers say the purpose is for the animals to get used to human interaction, which increases their chance of adoption.
I think it's a good way of them. Some people are scared of dogs, and I guess it's a good way for them to get used to it. And they will maybe get the dog and give it a home.
Coming up at 10, we have more on how the Girl Scouts spent their time at the shelter. A heat wave still needing a jacket out there today, although it did warm up a little bit.
Yeah, we got into the high 50s. A few spots touched 60 as we started to see the sun during the afternoon. Now temperatures are dropping back into the 50s across the area, and the very lowest part of the atmosphere where we are still dry, dew points in the 20s. I'll have more weather in a few minutes.
Still ahead on KGNS News, donations come from all 50 states and around the world to help families of Dallas police officers killed in July's sniper attack. An inmate is on the run after escaping a county jail in Houston. Officials say the suspect was being booked at Harris County Jail when he took off while still in his handcuffs. The suspect's name has not been released. Investigators say so far they have searched the bayous and streams in the area and have not been able to find that inmate. Dallas police say a driver died when his car crashed into a school building this morning before classes started. The vehicle erupted in flames after hitting the corner of a building. Officials did not immediately release the name of the driver. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators are trying to determine the cause of that accident. A charity is paying off mortgages for the families of 2 of the officers massacred in Dallas in July, and it's also helping out the other 3 families. Greg Onofrio has the story.
It's a Christmas gift that's incredibly bittersweet. A sense of relief in what's probably the hardest holiday season for the families of the 5 slain Dallas officers.
And with this letter is the receipt of the full payment of your mortgage. Okay.
Organizers with the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation knew they had to help these families after the July tragedy.
Ultimately, we raised approximately $610,000 in 5 days in order to be able to assist these families. And the money poured in from all over the country and, quite frankly, from all over the world.
That money went towards payoff of the mortgages of Michael Smith and Brent Thompson.
The girls and I would just like to thank everyone that made this possible for us to stay in our home, that Michael worked so hard to provide for us.
I do want to thank everybody that helped with this. This is amazing, wonderful, and I can't say thank you enough and express my gratitude enough.
They're also working with Officer Patrick Zamarripa's family to find housing and are giving $100,000 each to the families of Lauren Arns and Michael Kroll.
People were so upset and so moved by the heroism of these police officers, the sacrifice their families were going to be making, that they wanted to assist us.
The last thing they should worry about is staying in their home. It's a burden that's been lifted for families who have endured more than anyone could imagine.
In other news tonight, a traffic camera caught an SUV losing control on an icy Kansas road just before it smashed into a police SUV. In this video shot this weekend, you can see the white SUV start to slide and then collide with the officer's vehicle, sending it flying up the tow truck ramp and then crashing on its side. The officer was sitting inside the SUV when it happened, but she is all right. Officers want to use this video to remind drivers always move to the left when you see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road. In a lot of parts of the country, heat wave dealing with ice and snowy conditions.
Especially in the east now, it's warming up over most of the midsection of the country and the western portions of the country. And we're going to see some of that warm up today. It started warming up. We got up to 59. Yesterday, the high was only 44. Still well below the long-term average for this time of the year. Here's your sunrise sunset data. I'll have my full weather report after this.
It's time for your KGNS First Alert weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Richard Heatwave Burler.
Good evening. Satellite loop in the last 12 hours shows a layer of clouds that we had earlier today, a very thin layer of moisture about 4,000 feet up, below which is the dry air that we're feeling, and above that was rather dry air. And as we had the heating of the day, that stirred up the air enough where the dry air overhead mixed in with that thin layer of moisture, and that mixed away the clouds. Further to the north is Pacific moisture coming out of the Pacific across northern Mexico into the northern portions of Texas. But here in South Texas, we had the cloud cover to start the day and even into early afternoon before the drier air aloft got stirred down low enough to mix away those clouds. Still fairly moist in that thin layer of air about 4,000 or 5,000 feet up, and that may allow for the cloud deck to redevelop as we go through tonight. Temperatures at this point in the mid to high 50s. And here near the ground, beneath where that thin layer of moisture exists, 4,000 or 5,000 feet up, the air is quite dry. Dew points are only in the 20s. In fact, Cotulla has a dew point of 17. On the weather map at this point, a warm-up now over the western part of the country. Valentine, Nebraska, which Sunday morning was 31 below zero, this afternoon got up to 43. Cheyenne, Wyoming was 11 below Sunday morning, got up to 53 today. And we are starting to see that warmer weather come in from the west, and we came up 15 degrees from what we were yesterday. With the cloud deck overnight, temperatures will be in the mid-40s. Then during tomorrow, I think the southerly winds will return, and we should end up mixing away any clouds that develop late tonight and early tomorrow morning. And with enough sun, upper 60s, a few spots could hit 70. And a new system, not Arctic air from Canada, but from the Pacific crossing the Rockies, moving into the Great Plains, That will be moving in once we get to first thing Thursday morning. We'll still have moisture overhead, and that will lift up and above this cool air mass, and that will bring a cloudy, cool Thursday, maybe even some drizzle. Temperatures hard-pressed to get to 60. So as we go through tonight, the 40s, the clouds should return. Then tomorrow, once we see the sun in the afternoon, upper 60s, then that cooler air mass arrives, temperatures upper 50s to around 60, maybe some drizzle Thursday into Friday. And then that moves off to the east, and much warmer southerly winds come in. We should be into the low to mid 70s Saturday, and a good chance that Christmas Day would hit 80 degrees. Then cooler air from the Rockies. It may be considerably cooler on Tuesday than what I'm showing. There's a wide range of plausible scenarios for Tuesday, but in any case, Monday and Tuesday not as warm as what we see this weekend.
Not going to feel like Christmas, that's for sure.
Yeah, it would be a warm day.
Okay, thanks, Heatwave. Well, Ryan joining us now. What are we talking in sports?
We got high school basketball. It's Tuesday night. District play for everybody. Now we're going to preview the action. Plus, the Texans are benching their $72 million man as Tom Savage steps into the starting QB spot. We'll have more on that and the NFL playoff picture next from KGNS Sports.
From the gridiron to the links, it's time for KGNS Sports with Ryan Bailey.
Tuesday night brings a whole lot of high school hoops as the guys of District 29 6A finally kick off their games that really matter. So, of course, there's only one game in town tonight, but it should be a good one as the two Uniteds battle it out in the Longhorns Gym. United is coming off a pair of dramatic victories in the last week, topping Reagan to the buzzer on Friday night. Then all they did the next day is beat the #1 team in the state in the form of San Antonio Wagner. The Panthers not to be overlooked, having won 6 of their last 8, including a third-place finish at the Border Olympics tournament. Looking at the rest of the schedule, LBJ hits the road as well. The Wolves will be up in Del Rio. Our two United ISD teams are in play as Valley. Nixon matches up with Mission Vets, and Figueroa takes on Sharyland. We do have a couple of final scores to report all ready for today in San Antonio. The Bulldogs pick up a 12-point win over Southwest behind 22 points from Marco Pena. While St. Augustine is in the Alamo City as well. They suffer a loss at the hands of San Antonio Christian. The Lions are the #1 team in the state at their level. They thumped the Knight 68-45 today. On the girls' side, we get a few more home games, but only one all-Laredo Magic as the Panthers host the Longhorns. South is off to a 2-0 start in district play, having battled it out in a 3-point overtime win over South San. Then they roughed up Southwest by 42 on Friday. United, on the other hand, is hoping to rebound, having been stunned by those South San Bobcats Friday night. That dropped the Longhorns to 1-1 in district play, making a win tonight pretty important to keep pace in the hunt for a 29 6A title. These two will tip off this evening at 7:30 from the Panthers Gym. Our only other United ISD game is at Alexandria as the Bulldogs face San Antonio Southwest. That will tip off in just a matter of minutes. Also here at home is the two Laredo ISD girls teams. Nixon will host Mission Vets while Figueroa takes on Sharyland. Martin's off, boys and girls. Sure to tune in to KGNS Sports tonight at 10 for the latest in the highlights and scores. Let's stick with hoops, but go to the NBA. The Mavericks on the road facing off a feisty Nuggets team. Third quarter, Dallas trailing by a point. Darren Williams controlling the ball. Little floater in the lane. This one's going to put the Mavs up by 1. That lead not going to last for long, though. The very next possession, Gary Harris pulling the trigger from the angle. 70-68. Denver retakes that edge. Into the fourth quarter, Dallas trying to stay close. Wes Matthews going to hit Dwight Powell, loses the handle for a second, regroups, and then comes up with a flush. Mavs down by 6, though. Later in the fourth, the home team working the pick and roll. Nikola Jokic alone in the paint. He's found 4 the slam, putting this one out of reach. The Mavericks drop the road game 117-107. Williams with 23 to lead Dallas, but it's not enough for the victory. After shelling out $72 million this past offseason for quarterback Brock Osweiler, he's now relegated to clipboard duty as the Texans plan to start Tom Savage this Saturday. Houston head coach Bill O'Brien said yesterday he feels like Savage gives the team the best chance to win. That's important as the Texans are in the thick of the playoff battle in the AFC South. Savage got his first real chance at playing time this past Sunday, coming in during the second quarter. He threw for 260 yards, leading the Texans in a come-from-behind victory. Those 260 yards marks the second best passing output from a Houston QB this season. Saturday will mark the first start of his 3-year career as the Texans welcome the Bengals to NRG Stadium. Speaking of playoff battles, here's how things shake out for our 2 Texas teams. Starting with the Texans, their best hope is to win the division. Lucky for them, they remain on top of the NFC South with an 8-6 record. They're tied with Tennessee. Houston, though, currently holds the tiebreaker over the Titans thanks to winning their only head-to-head matchup, a big meeting looming in Week 17 in Nashville. For the Cowboys, it's an even better picture. They need just one more win or a Giants loss to clinch the division and home field advantage all the way through the NFC playoffs. Dallas has a 2-game lead on the Giants, who have the second-best record in the conference. They'll be forced to play a road game if the Cowboys clinch. Next up for Dallas, a home matchup against the Lions. That will come on Monday Night Football.
We'll have to see how they do.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Ryan. We'll be right back. Coming up tonight at 10, TAMIU has released its end-of-the-year statistics. We take a closer look at how many students are graduating and how the university is growing, plus more on an event geared toward veterans and making sure they get the services they need. And a new overpass project could be coming to South Central Laredo. We talked to the area city councilman. That's all coming up tonight at 10. How's our weather looking tonight, Heatwave?
A cool night will be generally fair, clear skies, mostly clear as we go through the early and mid-evening. Mid-50s at 7, right around 50 at 10. By midnight, temperatures will be in the upper 40s, and we may start to see the clouds return. 4:44 in the morning tomorrow. Winter solstice. Tomorrow's the shortest day of the year.
And we'll be a little bit warmer tomorrow than we were today.
It will be.
All right, that's our time. We'll see you back here tonight at 10. Have a great night.